Hey friends, well, the eliminations happened so fast that I was unable to keep up and make videos for every single series, so I decided that I would just include all of the 5 recent eliminations into one video. And this is going to be pretty quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each series, and we'll save the Toronto series for the end because that was technically the last one that happened. And weirdly, there's a round 2 game starting in about an hour and a half as from when I'm filming this. By the time this video is out, it's probably live, but it's happening before round 1 game ends after it. I can't remember that ever happening before. I'm sure it has, and maybe it has happened recently, but I don't ever remember that happening before, so it was very strange. All right, let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's talk Carolina and the Islanders. I've got my notes here, as I usually do. And like I said, this is going to be pretty quick. So let's just compare some stats between Carolina and the Islanders in this series. Goals for, 20 for Carolina, 14 for the Islanders. Obviously, goals against is the reverse of that. Power play percentage, 33.3% for Carolina. That means they're scoring a goal every third power play. That is way above league average, and we're talking about seasonality. Something really good in the regular season, or a really good number, would be like 25%. 1 in 4. They're scoring at a pace of 1 in 3, which is excellent. Their penalty kill is 72.7, which is technically below league average when you consider seasonality. And I know playoffs are not seasonal. Also, we have a smaller sample size, but it's still important to look at the numbers because they tell a story. So the Islanders would be 27.3% on the power play and 66.3% on the penalty kill. Not very good. For example, in the regular season, this just past regular season, the Islanders were 20.4% on the power play, which is actually worse than what they did in the playoffs. So they were 27.3, which is good. You know, that's really good percentage for the playoffs, or in general rather. And so they exceeded expectations there in terms of the power play. But their penalty kill was 71.5% in the season, and it was 66.3 in the playoffs. So not good enough. Just for some context, in 2022, the Islanders' penalty kill was, I believe, above 84%. It's like 84.4% in the regular season. That's excellent. That is an excellent penalty kill percentage, rather. However, think back to 2022 and tell me if the Islanders did well that season. How far did they go in the playoffs? They didn't, because they didn't even make the playoffs. So sometimes special teams are important and they tell a story. Sometimes they don't. Something else to note here is probably shots per game average. Carolina averaged about 33.8, almost 34 shots per game. And I mean, the series was only 5 games, so it's not a big sample size, but still, that's a lot of shots. That is above league average in terms of seasonality, and actually, it's well beyond. It's basically the top tier. So that is proof in the numbers that Carolina was pretty overwhelming in this series, and that's how I felt generally, just as a visual kind of lens as well. So, yep, Carolina was pretty dominant in that series, and they move on. Next series was Colorado and Winnipeg. Colorado won 4-1, and let's start off with the same direction. Goals for, 28 for Colorado. No team has scored more goals in the playoffs so far than Colorado. Goals against, 15, so massive discrepancy there. That's a 13 goal differential. Power play percentage, Colorado 37.5%. That is unbelievable. That's incredible. Penalty kill 76.5%, which is pretty average. Face-off is for Colorado 44.4%. I don't always include the face-off percentage because sometimes it's insignificant. It's like 51 versus 49 or 50-50 or whatever. But 44.4% is actually extremely low. And for a team that has scored that many goals and is that dangerous with the puck, the fact that they are having to fight for possession more often than not, just right off the dot, that's impressive, but also a little concerning. So Winnipeg, their power play percentage was 23.1, which is actually pretty good. Their penalty kill, however, 62.5%. That's not good at all. And in the dot, they were 55.6%. That is excellent. That is all-star numbers in the regular season. So Winnipeg dominated the face-off circle, but they just couldn't keep possession. They just couldn't put the puck in the back of the net. 15 goals isn't terrible in 5 games, but when you're being outscored by an additional 13 goals the other way, you just weren't good enough. I mean, as simple as that. And I'm so disappointed that Winnipeg lost this series. I was really, really cheering for them. Hellebuyck was, I don't know, basically average. You could even say maybe less than average. He just wasn't good enough. Like, as simple as that. He just wasn't good enough. And it's disappointing because I wanted Winnipeg to win. I'm not disappointed that Colorado won. I'm disappointed that Winnipeg lost, if I can put it that way. So, yeah, just a a really heartbreaking loss, I think, for me. I guess I was really hoping more for Winnipeg. Let's continue on. Let's go down to LA and Edmonton. Edmonton won 4-1 in that series. Goals for 22 for Edmonton and 13 for the LA Kings. So goals against is obviously the opposite of that. Power play, 45% for Edmonton. 45, that's basically 50%. That's 1 and 2. Every second power play, you're scoring a goal. As crazy and high as that number is, it's not really that surprising for Edmonton. So that's a very impressive stat right there. Penalty kill, 100%. Which one is more impressive, to get 45% average on the power play or 100% on the penalty kill? LA didn't score a power play goal. Their power play percentage is 0, and their penalty kill is 55%. Terrible, absolutely terrible. So you could argue very easily that special teams lost LA this series. If you look at Carolina and the Islanders, you could say that it's a factor. However, in the Edmonton-LA series, you could say it is the primary factor and the reason that the LA Kings lost. I don't know. I'm not saying that, okay? I'm not saying that, and I don't necessarily believe that. But if someone was to argue it, you'd have to listen to them because the logic is there. So the LA Kings had failed special teams. That has to be addressed in the offseason, and Edmonton was just too overwhelming. I mean, it just wasn't a sustainable series for the LA Kings. So Edmonton was quite dominant there. So they move on. Vancouver, Nashville. What a weird and interesting series this was. I unfortunately did not see most of the games in this series. It was just, most of them were just on too late. But I did watch the big one, which was, I think, game 4. So goals for Vancouver, 13. Goals against, 12. So Nashville scored 12 goals. Vancouver scored 13. That is close. That's not a lot of goals in 5 games. 6 games actually. Vancouver won 4-2 in the series. 6 games. That's crazy. That is like an insignificant amount of goals. Power play percentage. Vancouver was only 15.4%, which is not good on the power play. Penalty kill, they were 90.9. Absolutely dominant numbers there from Vancouver on the penalty kill, which means Nashville was only 9.1 on their power play, which is terrible. And they were 84.6% on their penalty kill, which is still a very good number. So both teams played well on the penalty kill, and both teams did not play well on the power play. But these two teams are very evenly matched. I think back to was it game 3? No, it was game 4, because I think Vancouver was up 2-1, and that's the game that they came back in. And you have to think that it would be a different series if Nashville won that game, because you're talking about Vancouver being up 2-1 and going to 3-1 versus 2-2 if Nashville won. 3-1 versus 2-2 is the biggest pivot in a series. So I think that was that span of like the end of the third period and into the overtime, the span of like that 10 minutes of game time was the most crucial, important, and monumental time in maybe any series. That was the time where Vancouver truly took the lead in the series. Now, they did lose game 5, I think it was, but still they were able to win in game 6. So that was a really, really important game and moment for the roster of the Vancouver Canucks, for the franchise, just to basically give themselves confidence and proof that, hey, we can win a series, and we can come back in a game, and we can show the grit and resilience that we need to win a cup. All right, let's move on to the moment that probably a lot of you have been waiting for. Toronto-Boston. Goals for Toronto, 12 versus goals for the Boston Bruins, 18. Toronto, 4.8% on the power play. That's it. How is that even possible? We're talking about one of the greatest primary lines or first lines in the league. And yeah, okay, Boston is a pretty good defensive team, obviously, but still, 4.8% on the power play. That's unacceptable. That is less than unacceptable. That is a fireable offense. If they could be fired, they would be fired, and we might see some moves. Penalty kill, they were 64.7%, also not good. Face-offs, they dominated the face-off, 56.2% Toronto did. So they were, more oftentimes than not, they had the possession right off the dot, and they still couldn't generate, and they still failed on the power play, and they still failed on the penalty kill. They played better 5-on-5, so it was a weird series. It's a little unpredictable. I would expect Toronto to be one of the best, if not maybe the best, at least top 3 probably on the power play in the playoffs, regardless who they played. So 4.8% is just an unexpected, unpredictable number for me. So Boston was 35.3% on the power play, which is excellent. It's above 1 and 3. Penalty kill 95.2, incredible number there. And then the faceoff 43.8. That's just not good enough. I mean, if Boston's going to walk into Florida and with a 43.8% average on the faceoff or in the faceoff dot, that's just not good enough. Like, it's just not good enough. They're not. That's not a. You can't play 4 series and win a Stanley Cup like that. Like, you need to have possession more often than that. So yeah, basically, Toronto. I mean, what do you do? And I know, like, you could make excuses about the injuries, like Austin Matthews and Nylander and the goalie situation. There's lots of reasons and rationale as to why things played out the way they did and why Toronto lost. However, this isn't year specific. This isn't a 2024 issue. It's a 2023 issue. Like, you keep going, keep going all the way back. Like, yeah, they won the series last year against, I think it was Tampa, but they didn't do anything after that. So, like, I just don't get it. And you have so many contracts there that you, I guess, can't really move. Maybe 1 or 2. It's going to be difficult. So, like, what do you, like, I don't, and they're getting paid more, which means you have less money next season to get the depth guys that you need. And I just don't, I would be so frustrated if I was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan right now. And I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the team, and I feel bad for them, and I feel bad for everyone involved. Like, it's got to stop. Like, there are 4 or 5 moments in history where you're like, okay, that's enough. Like, this is the end of the line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's time to blow it up. Like, I can't even count the amount of times that we've had this conversation in the last 6 years. But what is the actual point? Like, there was a bit of a point last year because Dubas is gone. But what's the actual point? Like, what's the point where they just, like, this obviously is, like, none of this is working. None of it is working. Let's blow it up. Like, what is that point? Is it missing the playoffs? Is it what just happened? Is it internal conflict that becomes public and there's drama and stuff? Like, what is that point? I don't know what it is. I don't think anyone knows what it is. I think it already passed, to be completely honest. And every year that this keeps happening and happening and happening, you're like, okay, well, we told you so years ago. So what are you doing wasting all this time? So if I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I'm probably not as frustrated as I was last year or the year before because you're used to it. Like, you're just, at this point, it's just like, it's a normality. It's not even a surprise anymore. It's predictable. So I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts down below in the comment section, not only for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins moving forward, how are they going to do against the Florida Panthers. We'll talk about that series in an upcoming video. But the other series as well, like, what did you think of the Winnipeg Jets going down so easily, Edmonton being so dominant? Like, let me know your thoughts of all these series down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Right after this video, I'm going to film the Carolina versus the Rangers preview. By the time that video gets out, that game will already be on. But that'll be a quick video. So if you want to see that and you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you got that little bell icon so you can see all the new videos. And if you did enjoy this one, please hit the like button. Hope you guys are having a great time watching the playoff hockey this year. We'll talk to you soon. Adios.